The whole family are villains, killing everyone after hearing my inner thoughts. Our entire family are major villains, diligently committing all sorts of evil deeds, working hard to accumulate blood debts to set off the protagonist. In the book, we ultimately ended up with corpses abandoned in the streets, cursed by everyone. Father is a treacherous official who embezzled half the national treasury's funds. His head is already on the emperor's wanted list. Mother is a notorious illegitimate daughter, ruthless and unscrupulous, with several lives on her hands just to secure a marriage. Brother holds military power, a famous profligate in the capital, a bloodthirsty and brutal general who cares nothing for human life. And I, having just transmigrated here, am still a good-for-nothing who can't do anything, only screaming inwardly, "Father, mother, brother, if we don't work harder, we're going to be killed off by the protagonist." War. Hello. Everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. When I first transmigrated into this book, I knew that the entire family I had joined were all major villains, serving as the control group for the female protagonist and her team. For the first 20 years, we lived in luxury and extravagance, but in the following 20 years, each of us met our own tragic end, just as I came of age. I was granted a marriage arrangement alongside the female protagonist. My father held a high-ranking official position and wielded immense power, controlling the economic lifeline of the entire nation. The female lead is Shu Miao Miao, the daughter of a censor. To put it nicely, she comes from a family of upright officials. To put it bluntly, they're dirt poor. Although Shu Miao Miao's family background isn't much, she is still the top talented lady in the capital. With a reputation far better than mine, that's why we have this arranged marriage today. The emperor let me choose first whether to marry the crown prince or the great general. My father leaned close to my ear and said, "Choose whatever you like, my precious daughter." But I fell silent, my mind racing with calculations. Both the crown prince and the general are fond of Shu Miao Miao. If I marry the crown prince, he will resent my father and, though he won't say it outright, I'll be treated worse than a concubine in his residence. Moreover, the crown prince will take Shu Miao Miao as his secondary consort, and in the end, to clear the way for her, he'll have me turned into a human pig. If I marry the general, I'll be left alone in an empty room, as the general will request to guard the frontier. After a few years, he'll bring back a lookalike of Shu Miao Miao and even raise her son under my care. Not only that, he'll eagerly serve as Shu Miao Miao's backup every day, moving all the household belongings to her place. Either way, I'm doomed to be a cannon fodder. Woo woo woo. I widened my eyes and looked at my father, giving him a hard wink. "Dad, Dad." My father trembled again, his eyes reddening, but he still put on a brave face. "Your Majesty, I beg your forgiveness, but I cannot obey. My daughter is unruly and this marriage cannot be arranged." The emperor was very displeased, his tone turning cold. "The crown prince and the general are the finest young men in our dynasty. If even this marriage is not to your liking, where do you intend to marry your daughter off to?" My father was so worried that he began to speak without thinking. "My daughter is rather slow-witted, and I had already arranged a marriage for her earlier." The emperor laughed in anger. "Don't try to fool me. Since I gave you the chance and you didn't choose, then I shall decide. She will marry the crown prince as his principal consort." My father performed the 3 kneelings and 9 prostrations before the emperor finally allowed him to leave. When Shu Miao Miao was questioned, she and the crown prince were secretly stealing glances at each other. In the end, Shu Miao Miao also chose the crown prince, although only as a concubine, but her father, the censor, was overjoyed. This is the fortune my daughter cultivated in her past life. When she marries into the crown prince's residence, she must do her best to assist him. Only the general cast a sorrowful glance at Shu Miao Miao before departing in desolation. The news that both Shu Miao Miao and I were betrothed to the crown prince instantly spread throughout the capital. This only fueled more gossip. Originally, no young ladies in the capital were willing to befriend me. They all preferred the company of the female lead. Shu Miao Miao had an impeccable reputation. Even casually reciting a verse from Prelude to Water Melody would earn her a room full of applause. And as for me, my parents always said, "What's the use of learning all these useless skills like music, chess, calligraphy, and painting? They're just things for serving others. Our daughter doesn't need them." So, Just like my brother, I was also labeled as the good-for-nothing of the capital. All the way back, I heard countless vulgar remarks that offended the ears. Oh my, look. Chen Yan is wearing that big gold chain again. Does she want to cover herself entirely in gold? How utterly lacking in refinement. What does she know about elegance? She just relies on her family's stinking money. She's always followed by 7 or 8 servants. If you didn't know better, you'd think a princess was traveling. Even a princess doesn't have as much pomp as she does. Unfortunately, with such character, even if she becomes the crown princess, she'll never become the empress in the future. The crown prince prefers substance and depth. How could he ever fancy an empty-headed fool like her? Whenever I stepped out, I could hear these voices. I have a bad reputation, I know, but I won't accept that I have no taste in clothing. They're just flattering the female lead. Shoo meow meow, she's about to marry the crown prince, yet she wears a white gown every day, with a plain hairpin, looking utterly shabby. And somehow this has become the latest fashion trend in the capital. Leaving the palace, I just casually remarked, wearing a white dress like that, I wonder which dead person she's mourning. Immediately, Shoo meow meow retorted with her pretentious, hypocritical words, I love this white dress as a symbol of noble character. A constant reminder to stay true to my principles and not be swayed by worldly aesthetics. Life is unbearable when I think about having to share a roof with this hypocritical, manipulative female lead every single day. The thought alone makes me so disgusted that I can't even eat. That evening when they returned home, even her parents and brother were too worried to eat. Her brother, Chen Shubai, was still acting as reckless as ever. Seriously, Dad, couldn't you just refuse? Couldn't you say our little sister is already betrothed? You have no idea how awful the rumors outside are. Her mother was also troubled. If it were anyone else, we could just make sure they disappear. It was said that before her mother married, she had taken care of several young women in the household, which was how this marriage ended up falling to her. When it comes to fighting and killing, there's no hesitation at all. Chen Shubai also nodded. If it doesn't work, just give her a stab. If she's dead, she won't have to marry. Even if she becomes a widow after marrying, she won't have to suffer. I support it. He turned to look at me, his eyes filled with indescribable sympathy. Poor little sister, so young and already being treated as a backup. The term backup was actually taught to me by my brother Chen Shubai, and now he's using it perfectly. Dad was completely speechless, his eyes wide open. No, can't you guys think of something positive? One is the crown prince, the other is a general. Who can we let die? How could he be a backup? He wouldn't dare. Tears welled up in my eyes. And I couldn't help but mutter to myself, well, he's not even a backup. Shoo meow meow, and I don't look alike at all. I'm the villainess, the bad guy, her stepping stone, the ultimate cannon fodder. No matter what I do, I'm destined to die. The faces around the table grew even more grim. I looked at the lavish feast in front of me and, for the first time, felt as if I were chewing on wax. Brother Chen Shubai closed the door in a hurry and sneakily approached the dining table, whispering, how about we rebel? If father becomes the emperor, who would dare bully our little sister then? Father and mother remained silent. Only I, who had already read the plot, sighed inwardly in despair. Ah, she must marry, otherwise, it would be defying the imperial decree. The emperor has lost patience with our family. This is just the beginning. Once I'm married off, my brother will be sent to the frontier, only to be stabbed in the back later. Then they'll finish me off. Then my brother, leaving no heirs in the entire household, will be like fish on the chopping block, wailing and helpless. Brother's breath hitched. Mother's gaze was as sharp as a blade. Father also made up his mind and broke a pair of chopsticks. Rebel, we must rebel. Whoever bullies our Nyan Nyan will not get away with it. After discussing it that evening, we decided that I should marry into their family first, so we could coordinate from within and without, before they realize what's happening. Understand the villain, become the villain, surpass the villain, use the villain's mindset to solve all problems. Nyan Nyan, when you marry over there, don't think about compromising for the sake of peace. Be as vicious as you can. Anyway, it won't be for long. Just endure it for a while. That's right. If it doesn't work out, just hit him. Although your combat skills aren't great, you can definitely beat the crown prince, right? The whole room was filled with villains. looking at me as if I were a delicate little white flower swaying in the wind. I can't wait to give it a try. Let me try. I should be able to do it. To be honest, being the villain might not look good on the surface, but deep down, it's truly satisfying. On the day of the grand wedding, 2 sedan chairs were carried into the Crown Prince's residence at the same time. The household items were so abundant that even 128 carrying loads couldn't hold them all. My mother was still worried, wanting to pack more things inside. Going to the Crown Prince's residence is surely a den of wolves and tigers. My dear daughter has never suffered such hardship before. Compared to my lavish dowry spanning 10 miles, Shu Miao Miao's was much shabbier. She had only a few pieces of jewelry, and even her 32 cases of dowry were barely filled, as the sedan chair was carried toward the Crown Prince's residence. Merchants and vendors along the road were gossiping. The Crown Princess is truly different, so wealthy. In comparison, the Crown Prince's consort's dowry is really not much to look at, quite shabby. When we were welcomed down together, I noticed Shu Miao Miao's expression behind the round fan was somewhat distorted. However, once we entered the residence, Crown Prince Jing Cheng took her hand first, which slightly eased her expression. Don't worry. After marrying into the Crown Prince's residence, I won't let you suffer any grievances. They looked like a loving couple, while I stood by like a glaring third wheel. But when it came to formalities, the Crown Prince still had to prioritize me in everything. At least in public, he had to save face for me. As for in private, the Crown Prince naturally had to properly compensate Shu Miao Miao. That night, Crown Prince Jing Cheng didn't come to my room at all, without the slightest hesitation. He went straight to the chamber of consort Shu Miao Miao. My personal matron was frantic with worry. Crown Princess, this is completely improper. If the Crown Prince doesn't come tonight, how will the servants in the Crown Prince's residence view you tomorrow? As she spoke, she was on the verge of tears. And that one from the West Courtyard, won't she end up stepping all over you? She had always been straightforward and sharp-tongued in the Chen household, her words quick and piercing. Which was exactly why my mother had placed her by my side to accompany me after the marriage. It was all to ensure I wouldn't be mistreated. But the one in the West Courtyard isn't some maid or concubine. It's not like I can go catch them in the act. Nanny Li, you worry too much, that's why you're aging so quickly. Everyone, take a rest. We have a tough battle to fight tomorrow. Shouldn't we let the entire capital know that the Crown Prince didn't enter the bridal chamber on his wedding night? I lifted the bridal veil and removed my makeup. Even from the East Courtyard, I could hear the lively commotion from the West Courtyard. And the Crown Prince even set off fireworks for Shu Miao Miao. He finally married the one he loves, and I am destined to be the cannon fodder of their love. The lights outside were ablaze, and the maids kept calling for water to be brought to the West Courtyard. There was no need to guess, the battle was intense. As for me, I slowly drifted into sleep alone on the double bed. What would it matter if I went to find him tonight, the night of the wedding, causing a scene in the Crown Prince's residence? Surrounded entirely by his trusted allies and spies. In his eyes, it was just a villain making a fool of themselves, and he would still think Shu Miao Miao was wronged. Besides making me angry, it was completely useless. Since he doesn't give me face, I don't want to give him any either, if this matter is to be stirred up. It must be known throughout the entire capital. The next day, before dawn, I had the maids help me wash and dress, and applied makeup with thoroughly reddened eyes. Let's go, hurry and report this. At the break of dawn, I entered the palace alone. I knelt outside the hall, requesting an audience with the emperor. At this moment, according to the original plot, the emperor still held a grudge against our family. Before I even saw the emperor, I began to cry, weeping as if my heart were breaking. I had brought all my dowry into the palace with me, and along the way, everyone, commoners and officials alike, saw it. The wealth was so immense that even the emperor coveted it. When he saw me arriving with my dowry, he didn't even tidy himself up before hastily granting me an audience. As soon as the emperor asked me, I pitifully replied, I'd rather give all this dowry to the commoners of the capital than suffer exclusion in the Crown Prince's residence. Before I could even finish 2 sentences, I was already crying, making the emperor's head ache. Quickly summon the Crown Prince to me. How could he let the Crown Princess come alone on the very first day? This is unacceptable. When Crown Prince Jing Cheng arrived, There were still red marks on his fair neck, likely because Shu Miaomiao wanted to show off to me, but Jing Cheng had come in such a hurry that he didn't bother to cover them up. When the emperor saw this, he was furious. "You are the crown prince. Look at what state you're in. Right after getting married, you're already disrespecting the crown princess. How do you expect the court officials to view you?" The emperor kept scolding the crown prince, who tried to defend himself. "I didn't, but I kept crying, no matter what the emperor said. Only when I could cry no more did the emperor stop scolding the crown prince. Crown princess, take your dowry back and live well with the crown prince. How would it look to others if you were to give it away now? Besides, with such a large dowry, it would be best to enrich the crown prince's residence." The emperor also punished the crown prince and reprimanded Shu Miaomiao, who had been following the prince, reminding her to remember her place. He then ordered the eunuchs and palace maids to carry my dowry back to the crown prince's residence, and only then did the matter temporarily come to an end. After the crown prince led me out of the palace, he viciously flung my hand away, completely shedding the obedient and gentle demeanor he had maintained earlier in the palace. "Don't think I don't know what you're scheming. You clearly don't want Miao Miao to have an easy time. Today I'm going to take this matter to Father Emperor. If I end up losing face, do you think you'll fare any better?" "Chen Yan," the crown prince said all that, then took Shu Miaomiao's hand and left, leaving me standing there alone. My eyes are still red. Shouldn't a villain do what a villain is supposed to do? If I just swallow all my bitterness without causing any trouble, then what's the point of being a villain? Of all the threats the crown prince made, the only thing I remembered was, the crown prince is going to make a scene and lose all face. When I left, the emperor was on his way to court, and I saw the civil and military officials slowly moving in front of the hall. My father should have been among them, but for the sake of propriety, I didn't call out to him. I only screamed silently in my heart, "Father, the crown prince is going to make a scene and lose all face." I wonder if father can read my mind through the servant I sent out last night. Not even half a day had passed. The news had spread throughout the entire capital. First, it was said that the crown prince didn't even see the crown princess on their wedding night. The aftermath became the wedding night, where the crown prince frolicked with his concubine and numerous beauties, nearly missing the next day's palace visit. The crown prince made an even bigger fool of himself. And even Shu Miaomiao's reputation was affected. When I returned to the crown prince's residence, the crown prince and Shu Miaomiao had already arrived. At noon during the midday meal, the crown prince sent someone to summon me. When I arrived at the place, I saw two people sitting there properly, but the affection in their eyes was impossible to hide. Shu Miaomiao, upon seeing me, still wore that gentle and charming expression. With her delicate hands, she personally served me a bowl of soup. "Sister, you must have woken up very early this morning, right? Here, this chicken soup from the kitchen is rich and flavorful. Have some more." She really knows how to hold back. I've even heard people gossiping in the market about how she brought the crown prince to fool around with a concubine on their wedding night. Isn't she supposed to be the famous talented lady of the capital? Why is she engaging in those frivolous and promiscuous activities? As soon as she turned around and returned to the mansion, she started acting like the mistress. Anyone who didn't know better would think she's the crown princess. As expected, whenever I'm with the female lead, this meal just doesn't sit well with me. In this bowl of soup, aside from the broth, there are a few pieces of chicken neck. Just looking at it makes me sick. I didn't drink the bowl of soup. After just one glance, I set it aside, and the maid removed it when she saw. Crown Prince Jing Cheng was immediately displeased. The crown princess is perhaps being too arrogant. Shu Miaomiao also didn't expect me to be so dismissive. This chicken soup was made by the chefs of the crown prince's residence. Could it be that my sister is worried there's something wrong with it? If the crown princess doesn't trust me, she should at least trust the people of the crown prince's residence, right? With that one sentence, she managed to insult me as well. I certainly won't let their words convict me of this crime. I tugged at my sleeve as if to wipe away tears. Since childhood, I have been allergic to chicken. I beg your highness to show some consideration. The matron standing nearby added fuel to the fire. When the crown princess was young, she accidentally ate a piece of chicken. Several imperial physicians took care of her for over half a month, but she showed no signs of recovery after that. Our Chen residents never purchased poultry again. Who would have thought the chefs in the Crown Prince's residence would be so careless? My tears welled up, on the verge of falling, but I remember that the side consort sister loves this bowl of white jade chicken shreds porridge the most, just because I'm allergic. We can't let her go without it for the rest of her life. Can we? Shu Miao Miao choked up. I don't, Your Majesty. Shu Miao Miao looked like she was about to cry too. But she cried more beautifully than I did, like a pear blossom bathed in rain, delicate and fragile. It was obvious she usually didn't eat enough meat, giving her that delicate, sickly beauty. I truly don't know, Your Majesty, but the Crown Prince was just eating it up. The Crown Prince held her hand, his gaze soothing, his tone gentle. The kitchen has been negligent. From now on, chicken shred porridge will be prepared separately for the consort. And chicken should not be served at other times. Making such a fuss over such a trivial matter is hardly dignified. After saying this, he shot me a malicious glance. Today in the marketplace, the commoners were all whispering about his lack of virtue. It's all because of me. The Crown Prince certainly won't give me any favorable treatment now. The Crown Princess and the secondary consort should get along well and maintain peace in the Crown Prince's residence. In a few days, it will be the end of winter porridge distribution. Do not bring shame upon the Crown Prince's household. Both Shu Miao Miao and I nodded in agreement. After the meal, as usual, I was the one to leave, while the Crown Prince and Shu Miao Miao stayed behind. They are the true couple, and I am merely an obstacle in their path of love. I had not even been married into the Crown Prince's residence for a month when my brother, Chen Shubai, was ordered by imperial decree to go to the frontier. The journey was fraught with danger, and I didn't even have the chance to see him before he left. All the trivial matters of the Crown Prince's residence were placed on my shoulders, and on the surface, to maintain peace in the household, he ordered that everyone must obtain his approval before leaving the residence. I stormed off with a group of people to see Crown Prince Jingcheng, intending to inform him that I was going to see my brother off. Before I even reached the door of the Crown Prince's study, I heard Shu Miao Miao and Crown Prince Jingcheng laughing and flirting inside. The army is about to set off. Fortunately, the Crown Prince isn't going, otherwise I'd be worried to death. I can't bear to leave Miao Miao alone in an empty chamber. When I personally lead the expedition, I'll take you with me. Then I'll put on a show of beacon fires to amuse the nobles for you. That won't do, then I'd become a seductive concubine. I refuse to be a seductive concubine. All right, you won't be a seductive concubine. In the future, I'll make you the empress. The borderlands are bitterly cold and the war is intense, yet they speak of it so lightly, disregarding my dignity, talking incessantly about becoming empress. But this is just as well, giving me an opportunity to seize upon the issue. I walked to the door of the study and bowed to the Crown Prince. Your Highness is benevolent. With the Northern War being so critical, I wish to see General Chen off. Prince Jingcheng frowned. There are many refugees in the capital right now. It's not proper for you to go out so casually. I knew it wouldn't be that easy. If gentle persuasion didn't work, then I'd have to resort to tougher tactics. Last time, the Empress summoned me to the palace for a brief chat. Coincidentally, she mentioned wanting to know about the current affairs of the Crown Prince's residence and whether the servants are sufficient. Shu Miao Miao's face instantly changed color. She still remembered my last visit to the palace and had no idea how much of our conversation I had overheard from outside the door. She secretly tugged at the Crown Prince's sleeve and gently shook her head. The Crown Prince was annoyed by my pestering and waved his hand dismissively. Go if you must, but behave yourself. There's no need to go to the palace. I'll explain everything to the Empress Dowager myself. In the end, I was allowed to leave the estate and meet my brother, yet I found myself unable to speak a single word. It was my brother who ended up chattering on and on about many things. Remembering the plot I had read, I finally opened my mouth. The general admires Shu Miao Miao. On your way to the border, you must be wary of him, especially from behind. Make sure you have someone guarding your back. Brother, the general stabbed Chen Shubai at the border, stole his credit, and by the time he returned to the capital, his military achievements were unmatched. Yet this man willingly played the devoted second male lead to Shu Miao Miao, just to advance the plot. This was the first time I had spoken the plot out loud. My brother, however, remained completely unfazed, still wearing that careless expression of his. Don't worry, if it really comes down to martial skill. He might not be able to harm me, even though my brother is arrogant and annoying. If he died, I'd be so heartbroken. The farewell scene, which had been warm and affectionate just moments before, Chen Shubai suddenly flicked my forehead. It's you I'm worried about, timid as a quail. Be careful not to get eaten by the crown prince. In the depths of winter, as the Northern War broke out, more and more refugees who couldn't get enough to eat tried to flood into the capital. But the emperor didn't want the refugees to enter, so the city gates were tightly shut, forcing them to beg for food at the foot of the imperial city walls. Xu Miaomiao's porridge shop was set up inside the city. Dressed in ethereal clothing with her hair styled in an elegant updo, she basked in the people's praise. However, there weren't many commoners in the city who actually needed free porridge. They came mostly to receive blessings from the crown prince's concubine, resulting in long queues outside her porridge shop. As for me, I changed into plain clothes and opened my porridge shop outside the city walls. Although the risks were greater, the sight of widespread starvation was too heartbreaking to ignore. No sooner had the porridge stall been set up than some well-dressed individuals approached. They were minor officials tasked with keeping the refugees in line to prevent any trouble. The leader among them scooped up a spoonful and tasted it. Why is there sand mixed in here? He gave me a suspicious glance, only to see me calmly ladling the porridge into bowls with an unruffled expression. Every single bowl of porridge had sand mixed into it. When the minor officials heard there was sand in the porridge, they all dispersed. Although they didn't have much money in their pockets, they wouldn't stoop to eating porridge mixed with sand. At the very least, they could go to a porridge shop in the city and get a cheap, smooth bowl of white porridge. Only after they had left did the vagrants gradually crowd forward. The vagrants didn't care whether there were stones or sand in it. All that could be heard were the mutterings of those minor officials still grumbling nearby. This crown princess is the daughter of the Chen family from the Ministry of Revenue. Their family has always been like this, with a bad reputation. When giving out porridge, they even mix sand into it. Damn, they're already so rich, yet still so stingy. They're really not as good as those in the city. No matter how good those in the city are, can you actually get any? We still have to rely on these refugee relief stations. Sigh, after working hard for over half a month, we can't even get a free bowl of plain porridge. No wonder everyone says the crown princess isn't as virtuous as the crown prince's secondary consort. Which family would mix sand into their charity porridge? I don't care what they muttered. The porridge we prepared wasn't enough even after distributing from dawn till dusk. There are really more and more vagrants around the capital. If the war in the north doesn't settle soon, who knows when riots might break out here. I had a vague feeling that something was wrong. My brother has been gone for so long, and not a single letter has come back from home. Just as I was about to return to the city, suddenly, I saw a soldier riding a fast horse delivering an urgent message over 800 li. The soldier was also wearing white embroidery, with white flags and white flowers. It seemed like urgent news, perhaps even a funeral announcement. I recalled the original plot at this point in time. My brother might be in trouble. When I returned to the crown prince's residence, my legs were still trembling. The maids and elderly servants I brought from the Chen family supported me, and I quickly sent them out to gather information. At that moment, Xu Miaomiao also returned. Her face was glowing, not at all like someone who had been busy serving porridge all day. Sister, guess what? On my way back, I saw cavalry rushing urgently toward the imperial city. I'm afraid something major has happened at the front. Xu Miaomiao looked just like a victor. The crown princess has always been one step ahead of me. In the past, I had no choice but to keep my head down. She laughed out loud. Let's see how the Chen family, without Chen Shubai, can possibly compete with me. Without your clan's support or the prince's favor, what do you have to rely on to stay in the crown prince's residence? He said it so openly and without reservation. My brother might really be in serious trouble. I did warn him. I kept a calm expression on my face, but inside, my heart was in turmoil. I didn't even have the energy to retort against Xu Miaomiao at that moment. Crown Prince Jingcheng came out to greet Xu Miaomiao, and she instantly put on a completely different face. Crown Prince, serving porridge today was especially tiring. She nestled softly against Crown Prince Jingcheng, completely shedding her earlier haughty demeanor. I also had someone prepare hot porridge. Made with even more care than the distributed porridge, I specially instructed them to simmer it over a low flame, creamy and soft, though you're accustomed to delicacies. I'm sure you'll enjoy this bowl. Jing Cheng played along. Very well, let me go and taste what this porridge is like. He gave me a thoughtful glance. He had been parading Shu Miao Miao in front of me for quite some time, yet he had never seen any reaction from me. Jing Cheng even felt that I, the Crown Princess, seemed to treat him as if he were invisible. How is the Crown Princess today? Your humble consort's porridge distribution went smoothly today, so your highness need not worry. However, the porridge the common people are drinking is likely too humble for your highness's taste, so there is no need for you to concern yourself with this bowl of porridge from your consort. He felt a bit disappointed. He wanted to see some other expression on my face, grievance, helplessness, even a breakdown, but there was nothing. From the very beginning, I had placed no hope in this man, and I didn't even want to pretend. As for me, I was thinking about how to get in touch with my parents and find out what exactly happened to my brother, but before, we had already agreed on everything. As for competing for favor, what is there to fight over with a man you don't love? Holding power firmly in your own hands is the real matter. News came that my brother had died in battle on the front lines. My parents hung white mourning cloths and began refusing visitors. My father, having lost his son in his old age, fainted from weeping in front of the hall. By the time I returned home, everyone in the Chen residence was already dressed in mourning white. I fainted from crying several times, and in the end, I had to be supported by the servants of the Crown Prince's residence to make it back. The emperor also began to cause trouble for the Chen family, first claiming that the war was intensifying and demanding that my father contribute money. But the national treasury had been depleted for a long time. Where could the money come from? My father trembled as he stood in the court, saying, "This old minister is incompetent, truly incompetent. I simply cannot raise the funds." The emperor, however, was unperturbed and sneered. "The national treasury may be empty, but the private coffers of the officials are not. Minister Chen, I presume you are capable of contributing funds. If you are unable to serve the nation and support the soldiers at the border, I fear you will chill my heart." My father left the hall after performing the ritual 3 kneelings and 5 prostrations. That very day, the emperor demoted him from his position and set a final deadline. If the funds could not be raised, he would face the confiscation of his family's property. Shu Miao Miao was completely triumphant, flaunting her victory in front of me without any restraint. "Chen Nian, your father has lost the emperor's favor, and your brother is gone too. I wonder how much longer you can cling to the Crown Prince's residence, completely ignoring me." The Crown Princess, in her eyes, I might as well already be a dead person. I silently recited the Great Compassion mantra several times before suppressing the urge to slap her. At this critical moment, I couldn't cause any more trouble for the Chen residents. Shu Miao Miao even moved things from the east courtyard to the west courtyard. If not for the fact that my courtyards were decorated with our family's least valuable items, she probably would have emptied them all. The Crown Princess's courtyard was as cold and desolate as the cold palace. The maids and servants were all too accustomed to flattering the powerful and trampling on the weak, except for the trusted aides I had brought with me from the Chen family. All the others had chosen to serve in the west courtyard. Even the few who remained in the east courtyard were often advised to leave. The Crown Princess might not hold her position for much longer. Why not leave while you can? The best spots in the west courtyard will be gone by then. The consort will become the principal wife within these few months. Don't lose your head over it. On this day, Crown Prince Jing Cheng appeared in the east courtyard, frowning with evident disdain. This was the first time he had taken the initiative to come at night. He dismissed the attendants and looked down at me from his superior position. "Chen Yan, I am always wondering when you will lower your head." If he could hear my inner thoughts, at this moment, he would hear me curse. "You lunatic." He pinched my chin, forcing me to look directly at him. "Chen Yan, why are you still like this, always wearing that sour expression, completely devoid of charm and grace? However, I happen to adore this haughty demeanor of yours. If you submit to me, even if the Chen residence is raided, I can guarantee your life and ensure your safety. Are you aware that the female relatives of raided households are sold into brothels, where they become spectacles for all to admire?" I sneered inwardly. A wife is not as good as a concubine is not as good as a stolen affair. Men always crave novelty. He already had his beloved Shu Miao Miao. Yet he still wanted to try something even fresher, even if it meant humiliating me. He was even certain that I would kneel and beg him, like a starving dog in the harsh winter. He now holds a piece of succulent meat, just waiting for me to take the bait. If the crown prince stays with me tonight, I'm afraid the side consort won't be too pleased, will she? What reason does she have to be displeased? I am the crown prince. Both thunder and rain are the grace of the sovereign. What fine sovereign grace indeed. He hasn't even ascended the throne yet, and is already acting as he pleases, Prince Jingcheng said as he was about to press down on me. At the critical moment, I pulled a small dagger from my sleeve and slashed it hard across his hand. Chen Nian, enraged by me, he grabbed my hair fiercely and threw me to the ground. Although my whole body ached, in the end, the violence was not carried through. I gave you face but you refused it. Don't blame me later for not giving you a chance. With that, Crown Prince Jingcheng left the eastern courtyard, coming and going in a rush. I looked at the bloodstains on the small dagger, filled with regret for not having practiced martial arts diligently with my brother, perhaps with better skills. This strike could have rendered him incapable in his next life. That evening, the food that was brought in had not a trace of meat. Everyone in the Eastern Palace knew that I was about to fall from power. The imperial decree to confiscate the property came so quickly. When my father failed to gather the 100,000 taels of silver within a month, the emperor sealed off the Chen residence. My parents were driven out of the Chen residence, and I was also expelled from the crown prince's mansion. I was no longer allowed to be the crown princess. And now we're just waiting for them to find evidence during the search to punish our entire family. But what they didn't expect was, after searching the Chen residence for a long time, even smashing the chairs to pieces, they couldn't find a single trace of gold. My parents and I just stood there quietly, watching them break things and ransack our home. The home we've lived in for so many years was smashed to pieces by them, and I couldn't stop sighing. My mother still held me in her arms, trying to comfort me. Inside, I thought, great, they probably couldn't find any gold or jewelry, and they'll get a beating when they report to the emperor. My mother glanced at me and swallowed the words she was about to say. Fortunately, the emperor hasn't exiled our entire family yet. What's the use of exiling people if you can't find any evidence? They know the Chen family has money, but what's the use if they can't find it? The officials who came to confiscate the property were so angry that they smashed everything breakable in the Chen residence, yet still found nothing. The onlooking commoners began to laugh. I've never seen a house raid turn out like this. A perfectly good mansion is about to become ruins. The Chen family has always been so kind. While others only give out porridge for a day, they continue their charity throughout the harsh winter months. Moreover, they hand out red envelopes to all the neighbors during festivals. Where else can you find such a benevolent family? Perhaps it's just the way of the world. Good people don't seem to last long. I even went to receive a red envelope when their daughter became the crown princess. It was a large silver ingot. Crown Prince Jingcheng stood nearby supervising the work, his face growing increasingly grim. Search, dig 3 feet into the ground if you have to, but find it. He just couldn't believe it. Usually, Chen Nian was seen wearing gold and silver, so how could there be nothing valuable in his house? He even said to the common people, the Chen family are corrupt officials, treacherous ministers, you've just been deceived. But the murmuring voices of the common people didn't seem to grow any quieter. What does it have to do with us? They don't embezzle our money, and they even give us silver coins, those high-ranking officials of the Qing dynasty. I haven't seen them do much for our welfare either. My parents and I were placed under strict surveillance by the imperial guards. That very night, someone quietly came and set us free, under the escort of the general and his men. My parents.
You'd better face your reality and stay put. Shu Miao Miao gritted her teeth secretly, unwilling to yield, until she saw the general arriving. Her eyes lit up. She rushed towards the general like a butterfly. Save me, save me. It's always been you that I liked. Take me away. Shu Miao Miao could tell at a glance that the general had sided with the new emperor and now held military power. If he still had any pity for her in his heart, she definitely wouldn't be trapped here with the crown prince. She recalled from the plot that the general had found a substitute for her. Whenever she was in trouble, He would abandon those around him and do everything in his power to help her. She now looked pale and delicate. A beauty in need of a hero at the most crucial moment. The timing, the location, and the people were all in perfect alignment. All that was left was for the general to take Shu Miao away. The crown prince laughed in extreme anger. Shu Miao, I've treated you so well. And yet you turn around and throw yourself into another man's arms. Back in the day, Shu Miao was a figure of noble purity and aloof pride in the capital, the very model of an aristocratic young lady. The crown prince personally witnessed her throw herself into the general's embrace, feeling nothing but disillusionment. This was the woman he had once nurtured with such care, yet now, to save her own life, she had become coarse and vulgar. Where was the unyielding integrity described in the poems she once recited? The crown prince grabbed Shu Miao and pulled her into his embrace. I'm telling you, even if you die, you have to die with me. Shu Miao struggled desperately, gazing affectionately at the general. Save me, save me. Didn't you say you loved me most in this lifetime? But the general did not step forward. How could you be so sure that I would offend the new emperor for a woman? And who are you anyway? I did have feelings for you. But that doesn't mean you can keep treating me like an idiot. He spoke with righteous indignation, but his eyes kept darting toward my brother. Love makes people blind, but it also makes backup lovers see clearly. Even the once idealized crush, once shattered, leaves nothing but a mess behind. The Grand General personally escorted Shu Miao and the Crown Prince away. No matter how Shu Miao pleaded or how the Crown Prince cursed, the outcome remained unchanged. My father sat on the dragon throne, but he couldn't get comfortable, shifting left and right. Who would have thought the emperor didn't know how to enjoy himself, sitting on such a hard chair? I also touched it, indeed. It's not even as good as the chair in our mansion. What a pity it was smashed to pieces by them. My father chuckled. That's nothing. Our mansion has far more money than the national treasury. One day, I'll personally have a chair made. This palace should also be renovated. It's too shabby. We each went about our own tasks until it was time for the evening banquet. I sighed with emotion. How did it go so smoothly? My mother burst into laughter. Isn't it because you know the plot? When you were little, we could hear your inner thoughts. It scared us all out of our wits back then. Your brother, especially, stopped going out to play with friends and just kept practicing martial arts and studying. My brother, Chen Shubai, scratched his head sheepishly. Hearing you talk was so shocking, it left a huge shadow on my childhood. I couldn't save face and silently asked, can all of you hear my inner thoughts? They answered in unison, of course. We also know which days you skipped the teacher's lectures, which days you fought with which noble girl, and which families you gossiped about for having ulterior motives. But your father dotes on you and turned a blind eye to it all. Right now, I just want to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. This is so embarrassing. So, since none of us are going to have a good ending anyway, we've been thinking for many years that we still need power. Your father has saved up a lot of money, and we can't let others take advantage of it. My mother chimed in from the side. That's right. How can we let the power over life and death be in someone else's hands? I know very well the difference between choosing to die myself and making others die. So, from the very beginning, because of me, our family had already set foot on the path of villains, and there was no turning back. Shu Miao was thrown into prison, despite the good reputation she had built over a lifetime. In the end, not a single person came to visit her. However, since she hadn't actually done anything truly evil, she was released after just a few days. Shu Miao became an ordinary person. All her poetry, songs, and refined character were now useless. She could only roll up her sleeves and start learning how to make tofu from the neighborhood aunties. Later, when I left the palace, I met her once. She had already married, no longer the Shu Miao of those romantic and carefree days. Instead, she was hawking her tofu in the market, living an ordinary yet prosperous life. The crown prince still wanted to resist, but he was utterly alone, with no money, no influence, and a terrible temper. No one was willing to lend him a hand. All that awaited him was execution after the autumn assizes. The common people didn't care who became emperor. All they cared about was whether they had enough to eat and whether the smoke of war would rise again. 10 years later, the court no longer needed to mix sand into the porridge they distributed. Little Easter egg, I was born into this world, and as soon as I arrived, I received a warm welcome from the whole family. Dad, Mom, it's a little sister. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was greeted by a room full of gold, silver, and antiques. Before I could be dazzled by wealth, I realized that all these relatives were the major villains I had read about in the book. Chen Shubai, don't hold your sister, be careful not to drop her. I still couldn't speak. I could only babble incoherently. Chen Shubai thought I wanted him to hold me, so he forcibly picked me up. That bloodthirsty and brutal brother now acted like a disobedient elementary school kid. Let me hold my little sister. Let me hold her. This useless fool is actually my brother. Chen Shubai's hand froze. Dad took me from his hands. I knew you couldn't hold him properly. Always so clumsy. This dad is so handsome. But his fate is so tragic. I really want to say, this is the great treacherous minister dad. The great treacherous minister dad. Holding me. My dad's hand trembled slightly. He rubbed his ears, certain he hadn't misheard. It was indeed a tiny, baby-like voice.